Max, what are you doing? What is up, guys? Thanks again for being with us today. First of all, before we get today's video started, I need to give a little bit of a background on myself to explain why we are doing what we are doing. So I am an outside salesman for a large lumber company in Missouri, Arkansas. So my job requires me to be on the road quite a bit, but they give me a company truck to drive to do my job. That being said, neither one of my vehicles get very many miles in a week. So today we are going to be changing the oil in my Jeep Wrangler. Obviously, because I do not put many miles on my Jeep, it is not due for an oil change, but it's been about 6 months since we changed the oil. I went and picked up some of this right here. Mobil 1 full synthetic, 520 for the Jeep. Truck takes 530, but this is 520. The reason we are going to do this is because, like I said, neither one of them gets very many miles in a week, in a month, whatever. So that oil in either one of those vehicles doesn't get used to its full potential. So over time, and you guys can look up the specs on oil densities and all that stuff. You can look all that up. It's all available to you online. Basically, the short version is the longer that oil is in your vehicle, the more of a chance it has to break down. So, things you will need for this project, obviously the oil. My Jeep in particular takes 6 quarts. I think it's like 5.8, 5.7 for the 3.8 liter. So you will need 6 quarts. We got a 5 quart jug here and a single quart. And I went with the Fram Tough Guard filter. You can buy these in any O'Reilly's. This particular one come from Walmart just because I was there. The one I wanted in the Mobil 1 makes an oil filter. The one I wanted, that particular model for my Jeep, was out of stock, and I really didn't see any need of waiting for it to come back in stock. So other than that, we're going to get the Jeep in here, get the old oil drained out of it. We're also going to check over all of our fluids. It's got a K&N air filter on it, so we're just going to take a look at that, make sure that it's not dirty or anything. Check the rear end differential fluid, front end, all the fluids under the hood, and obviously get the oil change. Alright guys, it's actually a day later, so no, I didn't go inside, change my clothes, my hat, and my hoodie. So anyway, just check the temperature outside. It is 16 degrees. It's 72 in the shop. we're set up pretty good. So we'll get right on to this. So basically what we're going to be doing, like I said, we won't touch the K&N air filter. This is a fairly new setup, so we don't have any reason to touch the K&N air filter. But we will be checking all of our fluids, top them if they need them. The only thing that I have seen right off the bat here, our washer fluid is kind of low. It's about halfway down. I'm not going to add any to it because we're in winter and I don't drive it very much, so I really don't. I know they make winter mixes and I could put it in there, but there's really no need. I don't have it here, so unless I'm just at the auto parts store, I won't be putting any of that in there. But I do have all the other fluids over here that we will need if we need to top off any of these fluids. So we'll be checking the coolant, the actual radiator itself. Battery's maintenance free, so we don't need to touch it. Brake booster and power steering. We'll just kind of check over everything, and then once we get that done, we'll want to pre-check the oil. Always pre-check your oil before you drain it. That is a way to catch troubles you may be having. If this is low, if it isn't reading on the dipstick, you know after so many miles, if you keep an eye on it, that it may be either burning the oil or leaking the oil. So we'll check that out, make sure what level we're at. So I think that's all we're going to be checking under the hood. And then we'll get up underneath, check the differentials, and make sure we don't have any leaks. Just kind of give it a good look over and get the oil changed, get her buttoned up. So we'll get started on it. So like I said, guys, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but we're reading about, we're reading in the safe zone, about half a quart low. We are due for an oil change as far as time goes, but not mileage. So I do think I have a little bit of a leak underneath this thing too. So that's part of why we're just a little low. But pre-checked, oil looks pretty decent, so that's a good sign. We'll move on to the rest of it. Okay, so another trick I wanted to show you while we're in here, the coolant reservoir. Obviously this one's not very dirty, so you can see the exactly where the fluid's at. And I wanted to show you, if you take a flashlight, shine that flashlight in there, we can see exactly where that fluid is in that coolant reservoir. So if you have a coolant tank that's really extremely dirty, you can take a flashlight to it, take the lid off, shine it down in there, and then look at the side. You can do the same for washer fluid, and like our brake booster here has got a clear tank on it, so you can check it that way if you're not able to see down in it. So a flashlight is one of your friends here. All right, guys, we're underneath the front end of the Jeep. We're going to go ahead and check our front differential while we're here. This cover is actually a cover that I replaced here some time ago. It's a solid front cover. So basically what it takes right here is a 3/8 Allen key. You take the Allen key out, and basically the only way to check it is to stick your finger in, make sure the fluid's in it. It's kind of an informal way to check it. So we will stick the Allen key on here and get it busted loose maybe. Let's do this actually. I think the reason it is so difficult to get out is I had it freshly powder coated before I put it in there, so it was a little hard to get out in the first place. Loose. Okay. As you can see, we've got oil in it. No need to add any to it. This thing sits in the shop more so than the truck does, so I'm able to watch underneath of it to make sure we don't have any leaks. Okay, just like that, we have the check back in, and we will move on to the rear differential and get the oil changed after that. All right, we're at the rear of the Jeep. Same process, 3/8 Allen key. Take it out, stick our finger in it, make sure it's full, and then move on. And this one is actually slightly loose. We've got a little bit of oil around the key. So we'll be sure when we get this thing back on there, make sure it's tight. We got oil. Rear end's good. Okay, it's tight. Move on to the oil. Okay, back up under the Jeep. So our oil plug is right here. This is your oil pan. This has got a oil pan cover on it to protect it when off-roading. So if you're not sure where your oil plug is, you need to try to find on the bottom underneath the motor, like on the Jeep, for instance. It's right here at the very bottom of the motor by the oil pan, at the bottom of the oil pan. So it's pretty easy to find, but if you have issues, get on YouTube, get online. But ours is right here, really easy to find. You want to be sure that you have the right sockets. We got our socket set here, and we have an oil pan right here to catch our oil that drains out. So we'll get this thing loose and get the oil out of it. And I tell you what, I need to get this thing lifted into the air so we have a little bit more room to work. Tight. Good sign. Be sure you get the oil to where it will catch. Okay. There we are. Now, while that drains, we'll move on over to the oil filter and get it loose. All right, back up underneath the front end of the Jeep. Oil's still draining here. There is our filter right there. It's not exactly the easiest thing to get to. It's not hard, but kind of got the axle and a few different things in the way. So you just got to reach your arms up in there, get a hold of it with a filter wrench. Our particular filter wrench is this style. You can get the strap kind, or really any kind for that style oil filter will work. You just got to have something to get it loose without completely crushing it. So we'll reach up under here and get it. Another tech tip for you is to be sure you have some way to catch the oil, whether it be shop towels or another filter or oil pan while the other is draining, or you can wait for your oil to drain. But you'll want some way to get the oil out of this, or catch the oil out of the filter. We'll get on this thing, get this thing out of here. Okay, we're loose. Get our shop towel ready. This This is probably gonna make a mess. Yep, there it is. Okay. Get it out of there just like that. Filter's loose. Just lay this towel down here and catch some of that. And we'll get our new one. All right, got the filter out. Something you will always want to make sure of, our gasket here. You want to make sure that gasket comes off of the Jeep. Sometimes they stick onto where the filter screws in, just like this one. See those black gaskets there? You want to be sure those gaskets come off. So we have our Fram Tough Guard filter here we're going to install. Something you will always want to do, you will want to take your finger. Boy, I've always seen the old guys do it. Take your finger, get some oil on it. You can even dab it in the oil. You need to get some oil on your finger. Take your new filter, get some oil on that seal. This makes it to where it doesn't seize up. That dry gasket there will seize up onto the motor and make it terrible to get off. So once you get the oil on it, you're good to put it back onto the Jeep. All right, guys, there's where our oil filter goes in. No fuel filter here. This is where our oil filter goes in. You will just take your new filter. Be sure you start the threads nice and easy. Get it started. You don't want to cross thread it. Get it started to where it spins like that. Get it on there, and this time you just want to get it hand tight. We have no reason to crank this thing down with a filter wrench or anything. About right there, about hand tight is all you need to do for these. If you over tighten it, it can become an issue later down the road. Whenever you go to replace this filter again, you may not be able to get it off if you use a wrench or something. But just be sure it's good and hand tight so it doesn't vibrate off on the road. So now we'll get our plug back in, get up on top of this thing, get some oil dumped in it. Okay, we're getting ready to dump the oil in there. You'll need a funnel of some sort. Our cap on this Jeep was right here on the valve cover. Had a little cap on it that holds the oil in. Take that off. Stick your funnel in there. Get it good and snug. Like I said, we are going to be using this Mobil 1 520 full synthetic. This Jeep, I actually misread the specs. It does take 6 quarts to do this Jeep. So we will be using all of this oil. You can take it however you'd like. If you want to dump all 5 quart, the whole 5 quart jug in there, and then maybe half. Get it started up, get the oil flowing, shut it off, check your capacity and add. But this one calls for the full 6 quarts, so we will be adding all 6 quarts to this thing. So let's get her dumped in there. So as you just seen what we did just there, checked it over, made sure the cap was on it, pushed our dipstick back into the dipstick hole, went and opened up the garage door because you don't want to be breathing those fumes, started the Jeep, and if you look back into that video, you'll see that oil light comes on. This Jeep does not have an oil pressure gauge, so that's the way it's telling us that, hey, pressure's up when that light turns off. So that meant we have oil pressure. That meant that the oil is in the engine moving. So the only thing you'll want to do is let it run for a second, let it flow throughout the Jeep, throughout the motor. And we checked it for leaks, as you've seen there at the end of that video. We were just walking around it, making sure there wasn't oil spraying out somewhere. We checked the oil filter and the oil plug, no leaks. So what we're gonna do now is check the oil level, and if it's good, we'll be good to close this thing up, and this project's finished. Check it out. We are at the safe level, the very top of the safe level. So, I'm going to give it one last check over and get the hood closed, and we'll be good. And there you have it. Got the hood closed up on the Jeep, fresh oil. Oil's drained into the oil catch here. Got some empty jugs to dispose of. Got to dispose of the oil. There it is. Pretty easy maintenance. So what I wanted to accomplish with that video is to show you the money you could save doing this stuff yourself. And I did this in a shop, but that's something you could do outside in the gravel. I know it's not convenient, but the money that I saved not having a shop do it bought this full synthetic oil. This stuff is expensive compared to conventional oil. So we saved a little money, stuck some full synthetic good oil in it because of our situation. Like I talked about, these things sits around a lot like my truck, so we wanted to run the best oil possible in this thing. So, Mobil 1, full synthetic, oil change, fluids top. This thing, in theory, should be ready to go for the next 6 months or so. Obviously, I'm not going to put the miles on it unless I take it cross-country, which may happen. Unless I take it cross-country, it won't have the mileage on it to ever wear out that full synthetic oil over there. So, that being said, you can run, the question may be, how long can you run oil? How long can you run a full synthetic oil, a conventional oil? If you choose to run a conventional oil in the same situation that I have, you don't put very many miles on it, I would change it at least every 3 months, I think. 3 months or 3,000 miles, conventional oil. On these older vehicles, that's what they need. They need that care. So, say you decide to run full synthetic oil like this Mobil 1 over here. I'd say I'm probably going to run that 6 months if I don't put the miles on it. So you gain an extra 3 months without this stuff breaking down. It actually says on the jug it's guaranteed for 10,000 miles. I don't know if I trust that. I've never run an oil for 10,000 miles. I'm not sure that I would try it. But you can use your judgment. Look it up. It's all available to you online. So check it out. See what works best for your situation. Now, obviously, if you are putting a lot of miles on, the difference between full synthetic and conventional oil is a little less, I think, especially with these older vehicles. You're either way probably going to run between 3,000 and 5,000 miles on these things between oil changes. So I would say probably at that point it doesn't matter, but be sure you get a reputable brand. You don't want to run down to your local DG and get you some DG oil. That's not something I would do, especially as much money as we spend on these things. I would not run cheap oil. But In my case, I'm running about the most expensive oil that you can buy, but that's to protect us in our situation. So one thing I do want to add before we wrap this video up, go check out my description. I did some work to it. If you're wondering what I'm doing, why you're here, what I feel my values are, go and check out that description, read through it. Basically, why I'm here, what I'm doing. I watched YouTube a lot when I was younger for stuff like this, for oil changing, lift kits, trucks, whatever it may be, just simple maintenance. I needed somebody to show me how to change the oil on my Jeep Wrangler. There you go. That's what I was looking for. So myself, I'm here to provide you that content to show you that you can do this stuff yourself and save yourself money. This is not hard. You just have to do it. Just get out and do it. I've watched a lot of these YouTubers that are kind of inspirations to me. And I'm not trying to rip them off, but I feel like they alone can't take on all of the projects by themselves. So I'm bringing you my story, my channel, my adventure into the auto world, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be obviously doing a lot more work to the Jeep right here in the shop. One thing I do want to find out, I'm going to get this thing lifted up in the air. We're going to do away with this 2.5-inch lift kit. So let me know what you think. My personal preference, somewhere around a 4-inch lift kit. I've kind of looked at zone, BDS, all those options. So let me know what you think. Add a comment. So if you want to see some more, like and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see. If you want to see more out of my Jeep, out of my truck, either way, just let me know. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next video.